Well, hello everybody. How are you today? If you are watching the replay, don't forget to comment the word replay because you will have a chance of winning some Essential Stencil prizes. So here we are on another beautiful Thursday morning here in Australia, but it's Wednesday night there in the USA. And I am so glad that you are joining me today to do some stenciling projects with Essential Stencil. Sometimes we do the rub-on transfers as well. And show you all about the fun things that you can do with the stencils. Hi Maggie, how are you? Cindy, good to see you on here. Let me just scoot down to where the live is live. Sometimes I have to refresh this page here on my laptop. We're going to be working on some signs today. Donna's here, Cheryl's here, Diana's here. See you all. Thank you so much for saying hello, joining me. And don't forget to share this with your friends. Let everybody know that we are live today. I forgot my little sign that says my code, IRESTORESTUFF, and a little hint to spread the love around in Facebook land. I nearly said Instagram. We are on Facebook, but you can follow me on Instagram. My business is called IRESTORESTUFF, and I literally restore furniture and home decor here in Australia. And I love to use the stencils for my home decor and furniture making projects. Some of the patterns are so good for the sides of drawers on furniture and all of that kind of thing. Hi Joyce Ann, Cindy's here and Candy's here, Dominica's here. So good to see familiar, I say familiar faces, but I can't see your faces, familiar names here. And so let me see if I can scroll down. Here we go. Right, so I'm working on some signboards today. Oh, my code is on the wall behind me if anyone needs it. It's IRESTORESTUFF. When we point down here, you won't be able to see that, but IRESTORESTUFF gives you 10% off anything in Essential Stencils shop. So let me show you the stencil sets I'm going to be using today. So one is this one, and this is actually one of the, I feel like it's one of the OGs, the originals of the stencil company. It doesn't actually have a name on it, but I believe it's called the Summer something set. Hang on, I wrote it down in the description of our live. So don't forget that if you do want any of the links, I've put the links to any of the sets right there in the description of the live, which sometimes you can't see while we're live, but when the live's over, you just go click on those links and it'll take you straight there. It'll even pop my code in for you so you don't have to add that. But this is called the Summer Sign Stencils set on the website. And, whoops, there we go. Here they are. Now this one you can't see because I've got it all, I need to put a black cardstock in front so you can see what they are. So we've got, so some of you who are new to Essential Stencils and you may not have these sets yet, but there's Sweet Fresh Lemonade with the 2 miles sign right there. I think I'll make a set of these. I do have a market coming up and I think these would sell well at the market. Farm Fresh Watermelon, 5 miles. And I love this one, Sunshine and Sweet Tea. Where are all my southern folk who love a bit of sweet tea? Susan says, love the accent. Yeah, I'm here in Australia, but I'm married to an American, so I kind of, who says he's half and half, if you get that joke. He's right there in the background looking at me. Yeah, because he was born in the States but lived a long time. He's lived now more in Australia than he has in the USA. So I'll be making 3 signs, but I want to show you some sign backgrounds for that. The other set that I want to use today is to upcycle this little box. Now I've been using this box to store some gift bags in, so they just sit perfectly. It's perfect size for the gift bags, shopping bag type things that I sell a bunch of paint here in Australia. So when I want to put paint in a gift bag to send to a customer or for them to pick up, I use those. Hello everybody, so many joining us today, that's amazing. So this set, I'm going to put this on there first. This is called Bloom with Grace, and we have this sign, But First Pray, which is so beautiful and appropriate. Then there's Count Your Blessings, which I think I'll use that one today. And then there's another one, which I didn't pull out of the packet, is Bloom with Grace. You can see that right down at the bottom there. So that set is called Bloom with Grace, and I'll be popping that. Really simple, easy upcycle project for any kind of crates or boxes that you might have. Yes, beautiful set. All right, but let's get started on this today. Got to blow the dust that somehow just must have been on something else that I lifted up. that just fell down on my board here. Just excuse me just a second. Could you just grab my sign that I've got up there? Thank you. My little cable for my microphone wouldn't quite reach all the way to the garage, but here it is. There's my little sign that will remind me to remind you, and share. Don't forget to sprinkle that love around. So this is the plywood boards that I love to use. They're so easy to just cut that if you've got a good cutter, or some of does your wood stores, your hardware stores, do they cut wood for you over there? I'd love to know. How do you do yours? Yay, your friends here. Good on you. Oh, there's so many from all over the States here today. So these stencils ship USA wide. And I've just, we'll pop this down. So I've painted this one black. So that's the size we've got is approximately almost the same size as the stencil sets that we're going to be using. They're great for farmhouse sign. So what I'm going to do is I've painted this one black. I've got one blank there, so I'll show you what I'll do with that one in a minute. I'm going to leave the edges this time because I want to find some really thin trim to just put around here for a beautiful wood stained look for around the outside of my boards. So that I've just painted in Fusion Mineral Paint Coal Black. So I am a retailer in Australia for Fusion Mineral Paint, and I do have an affiliate link for the USA and Canada if you are over that way. This one I've painted with Fusion's Victorian Lace, so you can see the difference. This is a white, this is the unpainted board, this is a white, but I do think it needs one more coat. You can kind of see the grain through there, so let's put one more coat on that, but I'll show you what I'll do with this the other board right down here. Hi, Krina. That's an interesting name. I like it. Excited to see what you are making. Now listen, if you are new here today, please join in the comments because that's where we pick our prize winners from. At the end of our live, we give away stencils. Essential Stencil gives away to 3 lucky winners prizes. So don't forget to tell your friends. Laura says, I had a question about the paint you used the other day. Do we order from you or do you sell it in the States? So I have an affiliate link that you can use for the Fusion Mineral Paint, Laura. And I will come back to your comment when I finish the live because it's just gone missing on my laptop over here to be able to send that link to you. So that just means that I get a small commission on anything. It's the same price for you, it doesn't matter. I get a small commission on anything that you purchase through that link. So you can use that, or you can find your local, if you do have a local Fusion retailer. But that helps us when we sort of use their paints when we go live, promoting their product. But it is a really good one. I love it. Hi, Ellen from New York. Awesome. Okay, so this is the Victorian Lace. Just going to layer one more coat on that. So for those of you who are new to painting backgrounds and signboards, I always paint along the grain of the wood, so usually that's lengthwise here. Sometimes you'll find with that very first coat of paint, so this one here, the surface is very rough, and that's because the paint sort of opens up, it's wet, it's water-based, so it opens up the pores of the wood, the grain of the, opens up the grain. So you can see what difference that 2 coats makes. So there's 1 coat and I'm now laying down a 2nd coat. And I use this painting technique with my furniture painting as well. I just picked up a little hair that was just sitting on the board there. Is just going off the ends like this. Now I think I've probably shown this before, but when you're painting, you don't want to get drips down on those edges, even though I'm not going to be using those edges. But say, for example, if this was a piece of furniture, what I do is I start from sort of close to the end here and go all the way down to the end and off the end that way. Then when I come back, I feel like I'm picking up little things off my brush here. When I come back, then I can go off this end. And that way I don't start there and leave drips that come down off the end of my board. So there's just some basic furniture painting or signboard painting techniques that you can glean from there. So once again, going all the way and off the end, but being careful not to flick it. So you just sort of I call it laying the paint down. So we call it laying down the paint. And I've just nearly finished that side, so we can see now that's really given us more solid coverage to our whiteboard, where I've just had one coat before. Now I've got two coats and it's given it more of a solid coverage. So you can see that's glistening. It's got to dry, so we'll let that dry. I do have my hairdryer if I do need to get that dried a little better. And I'm just going to pop my brush in a plastic bag in case we want to, you know, do subsequent coats, or we may want to paint something else later. I often just pop it in a little plastic bag to keep that from drying out. Okay, so remember I said we've painted this one black. Now that's only one coat of Fusion's Coal Black. I could do a second coat on there to kind of make it really a bit more solid, but I am happy with that. I think it's got really good coverage. Some of the darker colours, but even some of the off-whites have good coverage in the Fusion range. So if you do want that link, I will just pop that here. So watch out for it here in the comments. I'm not sure if Essential Stencils popped that in yet, but Fusion Mineral Paint, this is my affiliate link. I'm just popping this in now so you can see that. I think it's coming from Sharon Hankins is the name that you can look for right there. Yeah, someone was asking, did I ever get my Stencil of the Month stencils that I was waiting for? No, that lot didn't arrive, and so they've had to ship out some new ones because I really love that set and I was so looking forward to using those. Okay, for this one I'm going to use a stain. So I want to show you how to make a stain wash just using a little bit of black paint, and I've got some water in this jar already. You can see that swishing around there. Whoop, let me just move this down a little bit. So I've got black already on my brush here. I've got a bit of black paint from when I painted this board. So to make a wash, and you can do this with literally any colour you like. So I've oftentimes done it with, you know, like a dark navy blue, or with chocolate. It makes a good wood stain, so you could do that. This will make a bit more of an ebony stain. So what I'm going to do is just add a little bit more paint to my brush. I could even wipe some off because really, and then I'm going to add it into this water. Now I've probably got a couple of tablespoons of water here. Now this, because it's really super wet, oh, I don't want to drip that on my white, do I? I'll keep that away. Because it's really super wet, I think we will probably open up the grains of this. Even it feels smooth now, and so sometimes when that does happen and you've created a stain, it's great to use a bit of sandpaper once it's dried, and you can just smooth that down again. So here you see I'm using that same technique of going off the ends of the board. You could use a cloth to do this too, or a microfiber sponge. And sometimes when you're using a stain, if it's too thick, you could just wipe that back with a cloth but I think this is going to dry nicely. If I was thinking, oh, that's a little bit too dark or whatever, I could just wipe it back. So that is how easy it is to make a wash. So imagine this. You can also do this if you have a darker wood type. I'm trying to think of an example, but if you've got a wood that's a lot darker, you could do this technique using a white paint and create a whitewash for that. Hi Tammy. Greg and Terry's here. Hello. Yeah, thank you so much. Watching from Florida. Someone's watching from Florida. Who's that? Carla. Hello. So good to have you all here. I hope you're letting your friends know that we are live right now, so everybody can just get in on the DIY craft activities. I'm sure you've got some crafting friends who do enjoy these lives. I know we have we'll probably have some new people on here today, so please let me know if you're brand new to stenciling. You can see the grains in the wood. Let me know if you're brand new to stenciling or even new here to the Essential Stencil page. We'd love to know that. Join in the conversation. Because we will be picking prize winners at the end of our live, and we'd love to know though if you are new to stenciling today. So it is a worldwide chat, Ellen. Good thinking. Someone here's from Oklahoma. See, I'm sort of seeing some of them. Oh, it's Amber watching from Oklahoma. My daughter's name is Amber. Lovely. Okay, so I'm going to pop that black wash brush in a plastic bag. Now I can see that is drying a little bit more quickly than it would if it was a solid coat of paint. I could dry, that even more, and I will do that in just a minute. But first, let's go to my upcycle project while that's drying. And I'm going to upcycle this little box right here. So this is just something I picked up from, we call them an op shop over here in Australia, a thrift store, a charity shop. So it's just got these little metal braces around the corners. It's almost like that balsa wood. It feels very thin and light. And I'd say it's probably even a faux finish on there. I can see where there's been some tape taped off on here. So I might use this side as the front. Someone has probably taped something on there. And I'm going to put that down like so. You can see the base hasn't been stained or painted. This is how I found it, and it looks like this is how it originally was. So it's obviously had some kind of finish on here, but the bottom is probably just something really light to create a bottom. And no one sees the bottom of a project really, so we don't really need it, do we? Bloom with Grace is the set that I'm using today, but First Pray, that one would work really nicely on here as well. But I've chosen out of the three, this is a 3-pack set, and the links to these are in the description of the live. Laura, you're new to stenciling. You've purchased a lot, but you've not made anything yet. You've got a lot of ideas though. I am so glad you've got a lot of ideas. Girl, time for action. I want to see some of your projects. And if you're in the Stencil of the Month Club, there's a great place to share some of your projects. It doesn't matter if they are Stencil of the Month Club sets or if they're regular sets. We love to see what you're working on. The other way to do it is if you have created something with Essential Stencils, why don't you tag @Essential Stencil in some of your projects? Now, if you're doing that from your personal page, it will have to be made a public post, or Essential Stencil won't be able to see because that'll only go to your friends. But if you do have a business page, why don't you tag @Essential Stencil when you do a project and you've used their stencil products? We'd love to encourage you to do that. Okay, one essential thing that we do need is an offloading piece of cardboard or piece of paper, or you can use a paper plate. I've literally just used a packaging from a package that I received, turned it inside out, and that's perfect for my offloading thing right here. So I'm going to use white as, oh, guess what's back in stock, you guys? The brushes are back. So I do have a link for that, but use my code IRESTORESTUFF and get 10% off. If you're needing brush sets, there was only, I don't know how many left. So if you do, oh, Susan, she's asking what's offloading. I'll tell you in just a minute. If you are needing extra set of brushes or you don't have any Essential Stencil brushes, now's the time to get them. I did look and I forgot the number, but there's sort of limited supply left again. They are probably getting some more in stock, but I'm not sure when. So jump on and get those after using my code IRESTORESTUFF to make sure you get your 10%. Okay, I'm going to use this 3/4 inch brush. They come in 4 different sizes. So I'm going to use this Victorian lace that I used just a little bit before. Vicky, that's a great idea. I've done kitchen towels with these kind of things too. Well, with other stencils, but not with these ones. But these would make great kitchen towels, absolutely. Okay, so this is what I'm going to use to offload my brush. Now, someone was asking before about offloading. So here's how we do that. I've got a lot of paint in the lid of the paint bottle. So you could dip it into the paint bottle, but there's plenty on the lid because I shook it and it gets on the top of the lid. So what I've got here is a whole bunch of paint at the end of my brush. But if I just went straight on and stenciled that right now, it would create a whole lot of bleeding underneath the stencil and it would create a mess, a real big mess. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'll just put a little bit onto the side of the jar because really there's a lot on the brush. Then I want to get my offloading piece right here beside. I'll see if I can shift that slightly so you can see what I'm doing here. And I'm going to get my brush and I'm literally just going to wipe that, but also at the same time I'm kind of working it into the bristles. And then Now I would normally use painter's tape, or you can if you want to, but because it's over the sides, it's larger than my box is here, so I can't tape it down. So I'm just going to have to be really careful with using my hands to hold that still. And come down on top of it so that I can do this very well. Okay, so now I can go on and I can do these swirling motions without the paint bleeding underneath the stencil. So that's because I've offloaded this onto the paper. Now I'm just grabbing a little bit more, and now I've done that whole letter B, and we should have nice, smooth, crisp edges and not fuzzy edges. So you can see here, let me just lift that up so I can show you. There's some parts that look a little bit more faded than others. So I'm being very careful to hold that still. Grab a little bit more on my brush. This time I'll just offload it straight on here and put the excess down beside it here. So you could go over this again if you need more, but it's better to do 2 coats or come back over it again with less on your brush than think, oh, I only got a little bit, I'll put some more on my brush. Because putting more on your brush, the more you put on your brush, the more likely you will have bleed under and fuzzy edges on your stencil project. So I hope that makes sense. Essential Stencil has popped the link in there for this set. So Bloom with Grace is the name of the set. This is just one of 3 stencils out of that set. And you can get your 10% off by using my code IRESTORESTUFF, or just use the link that we've put right there, and it should add that discount code in automatically for you if you use any of the links that I've put in the description and in the comments there. Essential Stencil puts the links in for you. So this background, the wood that I'm using, has a bit of grain in it. You can see that I can see the grain of the wood as I'm stenciling. And so that's why you can see that some of it isn't looking like it's fully covering, but I do like that look. It's a nice subtle rustic look. The box kind of lends itself to that rustic charm, doesn't it? So I don't mind a bit of that. Okay, so we've got our word blessings, moving back up the stencil. And so this is, for the person who was asking, I can't remember who it was, what is offloading? This is offloading your brush right down there on the paper, or if you want, you can use a piece of cardboard. If you want to see how I do some shadowing, stick around today, because I will be showing a little bit of that later on those signboards that I've made over there. Now I'm going to use white for the whole of this stencil, even on the flowers. And then I could probably come back, maybe I could probably come back and add a bit of yellow or green or something to that effect. Just making sure every time I offload that brush. Did I bump? Felt like I bumped it, but I didn't. We're safe. Yeah, but sometimes even though I'm using other, you know, if you do want to use, there I go, I just bumped it. Oh, okay. Careful to put it exactly where it was. All I was doing was going over for a second coat and I just bumped it. Okay, now I can do those flowers. I'm sure I'm not the only one who has bumped their stencils before. Okay, so these are nice and little thin flowers. So what I was going to say before, even though I use that same white colour, if you want to go back over it in a different colour, that white actually gives it a nice solid background for the colours to pop. So if I was to do some yellow flowers and create green leaves on the leaves, then that white background gives it a bit of a opportunity for that colour to really stand out a little bit more than it does if you're just putting that colour straight down on the piece. So we'll try that. Okay, so there it is, and I just can see a little tiny, it's not too noticeable, on that C, where is it? Right there in the corner. You can see where I just accidentally bumped and almost, but when you hold it back here, no one's going to notice, right? No one's going to notice. Okay, I'm going to let that dry a minute, and we'll set that aside, and then I will pop this into a plastic bag. You can also use a wet cloth if you wanted to put your stencil brushes in. If you do have any questions regarding stenciling, do let us know, because we love to come on and help you. And some people are very helpful in the comments to letting us know, you know, the answers to some of your questions. So Essential Stencil is here too. Oh, someone's computer keeps freezing. I know, sometimes that internet, right? Okay, so we do have our white board here, which I've done 2 lovely coats on. I can see where it's just a little bit, still a little bit wet. Or maybe I could start with the black one. Here we go. So I'm doing 3 different sign boards. Look, if we don't get them all done today, that's okay. Here's how this one's drying out. I showed you this earlier. We're kind of creating a stain. Looks kind of effective, doesn't it? Using the black paint mixed with water. And like I said before, you can use any colour, mix it with water. All right. Oh, now to decide on which sign to use for which thing. The watermelon I love, and I want to use some pink and green on here. The sunshine would also look great in the black, maybe on the black board. What's the other one we've got left here? So this one is, what did I say it was called? Summer stencil set. If you type in the word summer, actually the link is right there in the description of my live. And then there's sweet fresh lemonade. That would also look good on either. Yeah, we might do this. Sweet sunshine. Okay, so let's start with this one. There's 3 in the set, and these are the 3. So we've got our solid black. I keep getting dust on it. Oh, I can tell I should have cleaned my board off a little bit better. I've just got some paper taped on top of a board to use as my background here. Okay, this one I might be able to use some painter's tape to hold it down a bit, because we've got a bit of room over the sides. Now my boards are slightly smaller than the actual stencil, but if I do this, you can see how it works. Melanie's asking, is this Essential Stencil Club stencils? No, Melanie, this is in the regular stencil section, essentialstencil.com, and use my code IRESTORESTUFF to get you 10% off. And if you just type in summer, what is it called? Summer stencil set. I know we're not in summer yet, are we? We're in spring. Well, in Australia, we've just had summer. So, but some of you want to get in early for getting your summer stencils signs made so that you can gift them or create them for your marketplaces. So I always we'd like to skip ahead of the seasons so that you can be prepared. I do have this cute raspberry ripple, bright pink colour. I thought that'd be great for the watermelon. Let's see, white is the colour we probably want for our main thing. One thing I did want to show you was perhaps how to extend this sign here and create a longer sign. So you can just switch and change up words. You could change this 25 cents to, where did I see there was another? Oh no, they both say 25 cents. I thought I saw one with something else like 50 cents or something. But anyway, you can change up your numbers with the little number stencils sometimes. You could even put the 5 up here to make it 55 cents if you want to put the price up on your watermelon. But you can just really, change up things all over the place. What did I have? White. I did have a white that I already used on the box, so I'll use that again. And here's our offloading. I'll put that here this time, just trying to line it up so where you can see it best. And I think I'll leave the watermelon, and we'll see if we can get this sign and extend that up to here. So, oh, it could even go, because the point goes here, we could leave that off altogether, and I'll readjust the whole arrow. I'll show you a trick. This is just to remind me not to paint there, but I want to show you how you can just change up your stencil sets. You could even add that 5 miles to another whole thing, an event that you're doing. You can have arrows. They're handy to have, these little arrows. Okay, so we'll start with this. I've got my white on my brush. We'll just go ahead, and we've offloaded. Nice gentle swirling motions here. And we've got the whole of that. It kind of looks like a chalkboard. We've got our 25 cents here. And if I wanted to, I could use this as, I might even do that, as a background for my watermelon colours. So remember I was saying before how we can sometimes use these, and I don't have to do a lot, but it just gives an extra little background for that watermelon colour. Could even use that for a bit of a shadow effect. I'm going to show you some shadowing before we go. I know a lot of people like it when we do that. So if you haven't done that before, but I know that we have people on here. Oh, Sherry, great idea. She said you could use juicy or yummy instead of 25 cents. You could. Essential Stencil does have a number of letters that are available to make your own words, so you can create your own words. They have them in various sizes, in minis and larger letters. So one way to find those on essentialstencil.com, just type in the word in the search bar, letters, and you'll find all the letters. If you want numbers, type in numbers. So some of the sets come letters and numbers, I think. We do have some numbers and letters on there, so it's so easy to find things if you just type in a related word, and then you can pop straight up. But don't forget to use that code IRESTORESTUFF, and you'll get 10% off your whole shopping cart. All right, so that is how it's done. You can get a good solid coverage here. I just now go through and press a little bit harder onto those letters. Anything that's left on the brush, there we go. I think that's going to be great. Now what I want to do is, yes, let's undo the tape so I can shift it. What I want to do is, we'll show you that first. That's that bit. Show you that up close so you can see we've got nice crisp lines there. Farm fresh watermelon. We'll add some colour to the watermelon, but I want to add a bit to this arrow down the bottom. So instead of putting the 5 miles down the bottom, you know in Australia we use kilometres, so that wouldn't make sense here. But because it's an old-fashioned sign, we did have miles. We did use, it's called imperial system, isn't it? We use the metric system. So way back in the day, so it would be in my grandparents' day, they did have the imperial system of measurement. Okay, so what I'm going to do is tape off these words 5 miles, and we'll see if we can just extend our arrow to, now I don't have to start it back here where the watermelon one started. I could start it here and just end it, you know, I'll find that point where it's centered, okay? So that's all I'm going to do today. I will tape this right here again so that it stays still. So see how I've shifted that across now? I'm going to add my arrow. Now, when we get to this end of the arrow, what we don't want to do is we don't want to hit that end, okay? So we don't want to go right to the end, because that will create a solid line. When I'm going to make the arrow go this long, it'll create a solid line in the middle. So I want to feather that. So I'm going to just sort of finish off around about here, and I'll show you how not to. So then, you know what I'm saying? I hope that made sense. So I'll start here, and being careful not to get right to the end. I'm just going to go just a little bit before the end. Okay, so that we're feathering those, that end. So see how you can still see the end of the arrow? I haven't filled that in. Now we're going to shift it across. There's our part of our arrow. I'm going to be careful not to smudge it while it's still wet, although it does dry fairly quickly, this paint. And I want to make sure that there's nothing on the back of my stencil here that's wet, because if I put that arrow down and there was wet paint here, we'd add a bit of white paint here. So I'm just going to feel that. My fingers have come off clean, ignoring that. All right, so now I'm going to look. This one's finished around about there. We could get our ruler out, tape measure, and measure. So I want it to finish sort of around about here. So that's where I want the end of my line. And I'm just eyeballing it. You literally saw what I did. I've just eyeballed it. Around about there is what we're saying. Okay, so now I've lined up these lines. This is the line where I want it to finish. I'll tape this down. Hang on, that's a little crooked. See if I can get that. Perfect. Okay, laying that down. I've still got some paint on the brush. Let's see if there's enough. And there is. So we feather that center bit. Now we can go and have that solid finish at the end of our arrow. But if I had have left that as a solid line, we would probably see that solid line in the middle. So that's how you extend your stencil area, like an arrow, for example. And there, it should be all centered. There we go, Farm Fresh watermelon this way. Oops, this way. I looked in the viewfinder and I was facing the wrong way. This way. Okay, so that's one idea. Let's have a look. I will go on and paint those. Should I do that now? Let's do that now. Popping my white brush into here, and we'll create a little bit of a green and pink for that watermelon, because we may have to do some. And then while I've got the green brush, I can go back to my other sign. See how we do several projects at once, and maybe you could do several projects at once at home and help you to, well, like while one thing's drying, I love to go on with another. So now we're going to pop this right in place. We could even shift it slightly to make that watermelon pop a bit with the white. So I'm going to shift it slightly so that we'll see a bit of those white lines on either end. And you could tape it down. The other thing I might want to tape, see how close that letter T is? I do want to tape that, and that letter, and then this is a little too close. So we just want to tape off those things that are a bit close to the watermelon itself. Then I'll grab the smaller brush. This is the 1/2-inch brush, and I'll get some green. So I've got this colour Conservatory by Fusion Mineral Paint. It's a beautiful green. And that's going to be the outside of my watermelon. Oh, it's got lots of paint in the lid. So I'm just going to add a bit on my brush and work that into the bristles. Oh, you know what's going to happen? I'm going to get it over into the watermelon, and we don't want to do that either. So I'll tear this, and hopefully I can get that to where I can tape off the watermelon rind so that I don't get that. So see how I just curved the tape? I've just literally scrunched it this way, and you just have to make sure that those ends are taped down. So we're good there. Yeah, it is a very pale olive green. It's a vintage green, I like to call it. Okay, so we're just adding that now. I'm doing a little bit of pouncing, or what we would call pouncing and smushing. You could do that swirly method too, but you know, find out what sort of method works best for you. I'm going to let that dry a minute while I just grab this one. Remember this box, if you've just jumped in a little bit later, I started this as a recycle or an upcycle project, and I've done Count Your Blessings from this set. I just want to go over these leaves with the green. Okay, so this green is on my brush, so let's do it while it's on the brush. So I am going to maybe dip a little more, offload, and instead of getting tape, I'm going to just be very careful. We've got a stem and some leaves here. Just adds a little bit of colour. And I do have that white underneath it, so that kind of makes it stand out a tiny bit on there. Adding another little bit of green on my brush. So this has got leaves up here. We've got 2 flowers here, which I may try and do yellow or some other colour. So I'm just going to try and be super careful and just get the leaf section. A little bit of swishing, a little bit of smooshing, but the only way I can do that is with hardly any paint on my brush, because if you have more paint on the brush, you'll create fuzzy edges. Okay, so there you can see the green that I've painted over the top of the white. Just gives it a little bit of colour without it blending in, because green is going to blend in a little bit more with the box than the white in the standing out of that. So there we go. We'll pop that aside again now that we've done our green. And pop this in a plastic bag. Now we've got 2 other stencils, fun stencils to do. So before I do my watermelon colour, let's do our sunshine and sweet tea sign. These will be great for my market stall. So again, this one is the summer something set. There it is, Summer Sign Stencils. Essential Stencil has popped the link for these ones right there in a pinned comment. Oh, what plastic bags are you using? Greg and Terry is just asking. So these, I recycle a lot of stuff. So do you recognise them? The little bubbles from your packaging that sometimes might come with your Amazon. So you just tear the bubbles apart. I literally cut the tops off the bubbles and the air all comes out. And they are perfect size for brushes, for my paint brushes when I'm doing furniture painting. Yeah, just saw that one day and I thought, you know what? I could just reuse these bubbles. I have way too much packaging that comes to my door. So when you're ordering things, if you've got that hanging around, there you go. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of this tape and just tape that off on one side here. Now this one you probably can't see the stencil for the white board behind it, but we've got the sunshine and sweet tea, so we'll probably do that one in black and maybe yellow on the sunshine. That sounds like a great idea. I don't think I've done black stencil brush yet, so grab a new brush. As I said before, the brushes are back in stock, but I'm not sure for how long. There is some coming, but there was a limited amount. What was this? Someone just asked a question, I missed it. Sorry, I will go back, and I do love to go back and look at the questions that you have for me there, so I will answer them. Cheryl says, it took me longer to make my bow today than it did for stenciling sign. The colour green, Maggie's asking, it's called Conservatory. That's it there, Conservatory. So that is a Fusion Mineral Paint colour, and you can use my affiliate link there to find that, or just ask me and I'll, if you didn't catch it, I can get that for you. So we're using now Coal Black, which is a really nice true black from Fusion, and dipping that in. You can use any acrylic paint though, you don't have to use Fusion Mineral Paint. Lots of people use all sorts of different, but I do prefer one that's got a good, it's kind of a thicker, you can tell the quality of a paint, that it's nice and thick. Okay, so I've offloaded the brush, and I may or may not have that black background for the sun. We'll see, maybe just a faint line. Okay, here we go. Just swirling around now because we've got hardly any paint on the brush. We can swirl. If you still have a lot of paint on your brush, you'll need to offload it. And as I said before, it's a lot better to have less and run out than have too much and have to try and fix the fuzzy edges or the bleeding under of the paint. So now you can see that all that I thought I had hardly any on my brush, just starting to run out now. So I'll show you, you can see we've got more paint on this side where we started, and it's just starting to run out now. So we'll add a little bit more because I've still got a blob right here. Yeah, someone was asking about the plastic bags. I popped the brush in the plastic bag because it stops the paint from drying out on the brush if I'm going to go over with a second coat at any time. Okay, this sun is going to blend in with the letters. That might be an idea. So I didn't tape off my sun, notice that? I've just kind of let that black kind of jump over into it. I've still got some more paint on my brush down here. Might be enough for my, and sweet tea. You could switch this around and put sunshine and have an arrow, but you know, that would be silly probably. A funny thought. Random funny thought, okay. Sunshine, 25 cents. Can you imagine? Okay, gotta have some more black paint. Just missed out on the word tea here, but I might have Oh, Cassie, you can order anytime. You don't have to order during the live. You can order anytime. And you can use my code anytime. So IRESTORESTUFF is my code that you can use and save 10% at essentialstencil.com. Can be used anytime. You don't have to do it during the live. You don't have to do it in a certain time after the live. You can use it anytime at all. Okay, so I'm thinking I'll just do a really soft and subtle outline here on the sun, but I'm going to go over that with yellow. All right, let's see. I will let that one dry. Not even going to give you a sneak peek on that one. Oh, hang on. And let's come over to the other sign. Now, if you missed this earlier, I'll show you how I created this stain. I can feel that's still a little wet. Might just hit that with the hairdryer while I check your comments at the same time. Share a bag here. Oh, Rhonda, yeah. The bubble wrap tip. Yes, Betty, that was just me saying that I use those bubble bags that are packaging for recycling. Just cut them open and they make the perfect, I cut the tops off the bubbles literally while they've still got air in them. I just slide the scissors right across. Then you can tear them each apart. And they create great little plastic bags for brushes. Perfect size for the stencil brushes. Yeah, I don't pop them. I just literally cut them across and then they don't make the loud noise because I don't like loud noises either. Okay. So we can see it's a little darker at the top than it is on the bottom. It kind of looks like faded barnwood, doesn't it? So if you're doing a washed look like that, you will probably want to seal the whole project when it's finished. I just use a flat tough coat sealer like Fusion's a matte one, or that comes in a gloss as well. You can use a gloss tough coat sealer. All right, I may use a little bit more tape over here just to tape this down. Who's ever done or had kids who's done a lemonade stand? Wouldn't this be just the perfect sign for the kids to create a lemonade stand out the front and sell sweet fresh lemonade? Don't know if you all still can do that these days. I have no idea. All right, so we've got my white brush. I think white would be great for that background. We'll use some lemon for that and a white arrow. And it really does stand out beautifully on this sign. Don't forget to share our lives. Yes, Lynn, just answered your question. So what do you use to protect the signs? Oh, and yes, so I do use a flat matte sealer to protect the signs. There we go, I've offloaded that white onto there. And someone just asked, will I be doing some edges? So what I'd like to do, and I haven't created these yet, is to make some little tiny trim edges, wood edges for around the edges of these. So I have yet to buy the trim to do that, so it's not going to happen today. And but that's how I'd like them to look. And I think they may even have, yeah, they sort of show you a bit of a demo of that. You probably know exactly what I'm talking about, but there's the example. See how they've got a wood trim around the sunshine sign on that one? I really love that it finishes it off nicely. Oops, now this is what will happen if you aren't careful with washing your stencils, which may have happened before, is these are called bridges. Now the bridges are so tiny that sometimes they might get a little bit fragile. And I think that this one I may have broken. So I'm just going to have to pounce around that area so that the center of the O doesn't go every which way. And this again is looking a lot like chalk paint on or chalk on a rustic weathered board that you can imagine would look exactly like some kid has made the sign, especially for the lemonade stand. I love it. And I've got still paint coming off the brush, so you can see how just that little bit of paint on the brush goes a long way. Sweet, fresh lemonade. So anyone who still makes, oh yeah, the brushes for the bridges, are they still in? So we do have bridge brushes, and I think I might, they come in a set of 5, but they're really nice fine artist brushes in a few different shapes there. So I can't remember if they're back in stock at the moment. Someone will have to help me out with that. Yes, someone else said they've only broken a couple of bridges ever. Probably that's maybe the second bridge that I've broken. And sometimes if I'm just too rough, it was already broken when I used this previous, I broke it another time, not this time, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so this one I'm just being light with because I want to go over that with some yellow and probably some green for those leaves since I've got a green brush going. But we've got sunshine to do in yellow, and we've got the lemon to do in yellow, and probably those flowers on the box. So see, we've got a colour theme going here, and then we're going to do the watermelons, and we don't, oh, no, we've got to do our arrow down the bottom. I am going to add the arrow this time. And we're just going to create the whole arrow. But if you missed it earlier, I actually showed how you can lengthen your arrows and create extended versions of the stencils by just feathering that edge, not going all the way to the edge, and then moving the stencil down and creating that arrow to make it longer. Okay, that's looking great. So we're going to go get our yellow now and start on our yellow things. So I'll let that dry also. We've got about 4 signs going on today. I hope you're enjoying this. Yes, we're nearly finished, but we've just got to add the yellow bits to our sunshine. Whoop! Well, that was a big mistake. I've just made a big blob mess right here on my table. That is, well, there's a good place that I could use for offloading my brush, isn't it? Okay, let's get onto this box. So this is the first thing that I started after creating my background to my signs. All I'm going to be doing is adding yellow to these little flowers, yellow to another parts of the other signs. But yes, I've run out of brushes. I've only got a large brush left, but I do want a tiny one because they've got some tiny areas here. So look, let's see. Got another small guy here, 1/2 inch brush. So I'm going to just grab a blob of that yellow that's just blobbed everywhere and offload it onto my cardstock and do a quick zippo of the yellow flowers. How quick is that? There you go. So there's just a quick upcycle of a crate box that I found at a thrift store. Count your blessings. So that's one project done. Yellow for the sunshine. So we've got a white board, we've got a black board, and we've got a black wash board. So we're going to add some more yellow again from this little blob of paint that I spilled. Actually, we need a little bit more for this because we've got a whole yellow to finish right here inside the sunshine. And I'm going to let that sunshine blend into the letters if it does, because I feel like that would look okay. So it's kind of blending right down there. Offloading right here as I go. And I just added a faint black to the background of this so it would make the yellow stand out more. And I'll show you the result when we're finished here. So I've allowed that yellow to kind of blend into the back black there. You could even do that, you know, down there with the yellow. So, ta-da, we've finished that one. So I'll show you that. See how that sort of blends in, the sun? So what I did was, I just didn't tape it off. So I did the letters first and that kind of blended in here. I did add a slightly, just a smidge or a smudge of black. What I had left, it's almost like it's what I had left over on the brush underneath that yellow, and then put the yellow on top. And I love how that sort of stands out. It gives it a bit of depth. Okay, so that's the other one. Second last is this one here. And we're going to do the lemon using my blobs of paint that I splashed earlier. Don't go anywhere because we do have prizes at the end of our lives. Okay, here's the lemon. Again, I'm not too worried if it's going to blend with if it hits any of the letters. I'm just being super careful, but if you wanted to tape it off, you could. Oh look, there's some leaves here. We don't want to put them yellow, so I will. I've got the brush that's already got green paint on it. Let's see if there's enough on that brush. Remember I put it in the plastic bag? Is it this one? Yes, it is. Let's see if it's got enough. Nope. I'll just super quick do that. And it doesn't even matter if it's kind of blending into those yellow sections. There we go. I like it. Yeah, that makes that really pop. And then we've just got a little bit of the pink for the watermelon to do, and we'll be finished. Yep, I can just see I had a little bit too much yellow on my brush, so it gave it a bit of a solid line around the edge. Oops, and then I've got more paint. I'm getting paint everywhere today. Yeah, I do love the pops of colour. See that? Sweet fresh lemonade. If you wanted to, if you did have it too rustic, you could actually, you know, give that a bit of a scuff sand to make it. Oh, I mean, if you did make it too solid, you could make it more rustic by adding a bit of sandpaper and dragging it across. I'm being really careful not to get my things, my signs in that bit. So here's my plastic bag idea. I probably am finished with that, but just in case, sometimes I finish a whole project and go, and I've put my brush in the water. So now we're going to do, on this one, just a little bit of a pink colour. Now you're going to ask me where you can get this pink, and you can't. This one's just an Australian brand. It's called Raspberry Ripple, because I didn't see one that was quite a pink that was quite what I wanted in the Fusion range. So what I'm going to do is just quickly tape off the watermelon rind in the same way that we taped off the watermelon earlier, going back the other way, using those same pieces of tape and curving it. So you can just curve your tape by just squishing it down there. So popping that down, coming around the corner. Okay, so I've just squished the tape and curved it around, and I've run out of brushes. I'm going to have to use, oh no, here we go. Still a sort of a medium brush. This one's a 5/8 inch. It's always good to have several brushes on hand when you're using colours, right? Because you can always do with another couple. Okay, this one's more of a little bit more translucent colour, because sometimes those with the highest amount of pigments are really you can sort of see through them a little bit, so it may take a couple of coats, or it may be okay with just this one. I think that's a great watermelon colour. I stock this one here in Australia. It's one of our Australian brands of mineral paint, or chalk paint. This one is chalk paint. Okay, I think that's kind of cool. Let's see how that looks once I've got it off. Then, oh, you guys, I've got to do the watermelon seeds. Now, you don't see watermelon seeds a lot these days because everyone's buying the seedless watermelons. But if you wanted to add some watermelon seeds to this, this is something that the bridging brushes will be perfect for. Okay, so there it is without the little seeds. But let me show you just a little trick with the bridging brushes. Oh dear. Got that green paint on the side. I'll just have to sand that off and paint it. I've got paint everywhere, guys. Okay, and then after the live, I'll go and seal these, and you'll see that that grain will come up nicely. Yep, so that's pretty much dry already. So let's use one of my bridging brushes here. These come in a set of 5, and I didn't get a confirmation, or maybe I just missed. No, 6. Sorry, they come in a set of 6. Bridging brushes. So they will help if you want to add the bridges lines back in to make it not look so stencily, so you can add that with a little bit of white. I'm going to use this one here. Yeah, if we do have those in stock, I'm sure Essential Stencil will let us know, and you can use my code for that, or just look up brushes on the essentialstencil.com website, and you can find them there, and it will see if they're sold out. I believe there is something that you can, some little button that says, would you like to know when these are back in stock, and you can hit that. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. All right, so we get the black colour, the coal black, and we're just going to add a couple of tiny little, because they've got this one has a little tapered edge on it. You'll be able to, I don't want it too thick, so I'm just going to offload a little bit of that. Hopefully I don't make them too large. How do you make watermelon seeds random? Look, we've still got a little bit of paint on the brush, and that's how it's done. Yes, Judy's mentioning how Fusion paint does already have a sealer in the paint, so that's the difference between a mineral paint and the chalk paint. There we go. I think we've got enough there, but I love that little tip, makes it, the seeds kind of look that seed shape. I can pop that in the water now, and I'll show you that one up close. So there are my little watermelon seeds now in the watermelon sign. So if you're feeling like you want to get into summer already, this is a great set to get you head start into the summer season. I know we're just getting our spring stencils. You're probably getting your spring stencils now, but if you are new to stenciling and you don't have this set, because like I was saying, this set's actually one of the originals that Essential Stencil had on their site. This one I've still got some little a little bit fuzzy edges. I'll show you what not to do. So I don't know if you can see that if I hold it really close. We are about to pick some prize winners, so don't go anywhere. See that's it. The beginning here has just near the inside of the E some bit of fuzzy edges where it gets a bit sharper and crisper on the outside. And then we have our sunshine and sweet tea sign with the blending here on the sun. And then we've got this fun box, Count Your Blessings. Wow, 4 projects today. My goodness, guys. Let me see if I can see who is the winners today. Now, I'm Sharon from IRESTORESTUFF. You can use my code IRESTORESTUFF or follow me at IRESTORESTUFF on any of the social media platforms. You can do that. Look, this would be a great place to store my signs. I could pop them in the box here and display them. But I'll just see if I can hold them up without getting anything on that blob of yellow paint that I did there. Let me see if I can see. Wow! There you go. There's all the signs we made today. Oh my goodness, we did a lot of work. I hope you were working along with me. Okay, congratulations winners. We have Melissa, Tula, I hope I'm saying your name right, and Krina, I hope I'm saying your names right. But if you can see your name there, you've been tagged in that post that's pinned to the top of our live here, and there's some instructions on there, the email address you need to email and how to claim your prize. Let them know where to send it to. So congratulations to those 3 lucky winners. Let them know that you were a winner on Sharon's live today. So I am going to see you then next week for another live. It'll be April already, next week. So I've enjoyed that today. I loved making signs with you and upcycling. So let us know if you've got any questions. I'll go through and answer those. And I will see you next week. Bye. Oops, I can't reach.